Oh gosh, we have audience. Good evening, everyone. It's good to see everyone here. We don't bite. Please move forward. We don't bite.
Sealing our fate.
And the doors have closed. Ooh.
Good evening, everyone.
Happy PAX! Yay!
Welcome to PAX. So just a show of hands, I'm just really curious. How many content creators do we have in the audience?
Ooh.
Wow. How many people on Twitch? How many people on YouTube? Twitch affiliates? Twitch partners? Cool. So this is the panel, A Link Between Worlds, Balancing Content Creation with Life. And the first thing is, I do want to give credit to one of the panelists, simply Gabby, for coming up with the title and description for this.
I get one good title a year, so this is it.
So we have a diverse group of panelists with, of all different backgrounds and experiences with content creation and balancing content creation with, various full-time responsibilities and other life commitments. And this is what the panel's all about. If you are ever struggling to find that balance or just looking for how, a bunch of creators with various degrees of success find that balance, this is your panel. I'm going to do introductions.
Yeah.
So first off, my name is Kenley. I'm a software engineer in the technology industry, Twitch affiliate, and the board member of a local nonprofit organization here in Seattle. So I guess the first thing is that, from my 9 to 5, I'm a software engineer and I work on the services that support the world's largest membership and subscription programs. Kind of intimidating, kind of a lot of responsibility. And then after that, I'm one of the founding board members of the Seattle Online Broadcasters Association. We are a nonprofit supporting the content creator community here in Seattle. We do a lot of networking and professional development and education programs here. If you're at our Hard Rock Cafe meetup on Thursday, welcome back. It's good to see you all again. And in my free time, I enjoy photography and the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV.
Wait, is that the one with the free trial that takes you all the way up to Heavensward?
All the way to level 60 includes the entirety of Realm Reborn and the Heavensward expansion.
Kenley, we should raid together sometime.
We already do Savage
We're
together.
in the same free company. It's great.
Gabby is also in our free company, and we kind of just like play off of this. It's like that's why if you're like watching us, we play off each other. It's like we all know each other really well. Like everyone.
Wait, who are you? How did I get up here? I'm not really sure.
So let me introduce.
That's me.
Yes, that's you, Steph. So. Right next to me is Stephanie Fulwiler. She's a content creator, Twitch partner, and influencer relations assistant at Dead Good PR, a public relations agency in the gaming industry. She has been a creator for 6 years. That's a long time.
It's been a long, long road.
And you balance your day job responsibilities of being a content creator, like you've been doing it for the past 2 years. How does that feel?
Yeah, I've learned a lot in the last 2 years. So I was a full-time content creator for about 4 of those 6 years, and then in the last 2 years, I've transitioned to having a full-time job on top of balancing content creation. I still stream about 4 days a week. So yeah, I'm excited to get into it. I don't want to spoil anything too soon, but yeah,
and that's a pretty good
looking
photo.
forward to it. Oh yeah, I know this really great photographer. His name is Kenley, so highly recommend if anyone is looking for a headshot.
Next up is January Andon. He is local to Seattle. That's how I know him. And he works in corporate social media. And he has a lot of really, really interesting stories that he shared with me. From the time that he got Microsoft to say ooh, providing art critiques to Fortnite graphic designers, and babysitting an AI so it didn't become a raging Nazi. Outside of work, he has been a part-time streamer for the past 4 years, streams Tarkov, Just Chatting, got to start with Monster Hunter, and he's really good at making cocktails. Like, you've been featured on like Food and Drink Week on Twitch.
Yeah, I've done Food and Drink Month for 2 years on the front page of Twitch, and it's the only time I think Twitch has ever paid somebody to get drunk on the front page. So I'll take that one to the grave.
And in his free time, you'll find him at a local brewery when he's not playing video games. Next up is Gabby Snyder. She is a senior software engineer focusing on mobile application development. In addition, she is a Twitch affiliate and a pretty recognizable figure in the Pokemon community. If you watch the official Pokemon broadcasts, you'll likely find her doing commentary. And aside from being a really amazing creator, she's also been working in the technology industry for over 9 years. And for 6 years of her career, she worked on a shopping-centric application you may have heard of, but now she works on a companion mobile app for some digital assistant devices. You may have heard of it. And aside from that, she's been a caster for Pokemon events since 2016, and she's commentated events ranging from small grassroots tournaments to the Pokemon World Championships. I heard there was one in London.
Yeah, I was just there, actually, with Steph, too.
Yeah.
But I got to commentate the first ever Pokemon Go World Championships and helped crown the first world champion, which is really exciting.
It was actually crazy because the person who won those championships was from the Last Chance qualifier, so it felt like it was right out of an anime where the person that comes back, they reset the bracket. It was awesome.
They literally played every single possible game they could have played in the final set. It really was anime.
And as a good friend, I was watching it at 6, 7 a.m. on a Saturday, and I'm like, this is incredible.
Thank you.
So our next panelist is MsAshRocks. She's a Twitch partner and full-time community manager at Tiltify, which is the premier charity fundraising platform for content creators. You're welcome, Lou. She streams a lot of first-person shooters, but is well known to play indie, story-driven, and community games from time to time. And I've known Ash since 2017. I believe 2017. I remember meeting her at TwitchCon, and it's really cool to see people creators in the community transition into having full-time jobs in the creator space, supporting creators.
Yeah, I've known you for a long time.
Yeah,
because it was the Domino's party, and you took really good pictures of me. Remember that?
Thank
and you
Ash.
haven't taken any cents. So we need to change that. Because I don't have a pretty headshot from Kenley.
Photo shoot at PAX?
Yes.
It's time?
We're making plans tomorrow, okay?
We're making plans. Yes. No, Kenley is absolutely phenomenal. The best photographer to capture me. Absolutely.
Y'all are making me blush here.
Go
I
ahead.
can't see it through my mask.
But it's lovely to be here. Thank you so much for being here with us.
So last but not least, we have Dottie Hack, and he is a Twitch partner and a full-time streamer. You know, that's a direct contrast to like all of our other panelists. And he's been streaming full-time for the past 3 years. And he also plays Tarkov, just like January and on. And he's also a drummer. He started streaming in 2017 and became a Twitch partner in 2019. And this is the most interesting part. In a previous life, he was previously signed to a record label and toured across the country as part of a member of the band Phantoms. And how I knew him was that he currently lives in Seattle. That's how I know him, because I organized the Seattle meetup. But he originally grew up in Maryland.
Yeah, so I'm a long way from home. But yeah, I got a Twitch partnership in 2019 after streaming, 3 or 4 years. Before that, I was in a band and was traveling. And it's kind of interesting to see how much of the content creation life translated from the music industry to like the gaming industry. And having done it for the last 3 years, it's been an immense challenge trying to figure it out, trying to make everything work. But I'm happy to hear and talk with everybody today about how we all do it and how we all make it work.
And I sometimes really struggle and fall flat on our face. But more about that later. So I'm going to hand this off to Gabby since she wrote this.
Okay. Thank you for the great introduction there. I will try not to just read the screen. But yeah, I mean, the reason why I started thinking about this panel, not just because, Steph ran a similar panel at TwitchCon Amsterdam back in April? May? July.
Yeah.
Is because I think that streaming right now really is a lot of people's aspiration. A lot of people look at the content creation space and think, hey, maybe I can do that. Maybe I can just do this for a living. It seems like it's, a very easy obtainable goal. You have a computer, you have an internet connection, you can just go live and start, working on that process. But, in reality, to go from, you're just in your bedroom, first stream, to doing something full time in this space is really, really difficult. And I don't think a lot of people talk about just the journey that you have to take to get there and whether or not that journey is something that you actually want to do. So that's really the goal of this panel, is to have a healthy discussion around, what success means in this space, how we define our own success, and how you can go from being a beginner, if you will, in the space to someone who can level up, get more experience, and maybe be on the road to full time. Yeah. Next slide. Oh,
I think
we're just going through the whole thing. Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
There
So
we
the
go.
questions are exciting. So I'm going to start this from me all the way down with introduction. So for every panelist here, how did you get started as a content creator? What are your priorities when it comes to balancing full-time employment, if it exists, content creation in life, and what are some of the biggest challenges you face when it comes to balancing all of that chaos? And I'm going to first hand it off to Steph.
That's me. Oh man, so I started streaming back in 2016, and the landscape was very different back then. And to be totally honest, it's crazy to me because you have people now who know what Twitch and YouTube is, and want to be from the get-go a streamer as your job. And when I started, it was kind of an accident. I just wanted a way to play games with my online friends and honestly kind of screen share, because it was still Discord was still relatively new. I don't even know if you could screen share on Discord at the time, but I
don't
wanted a
think
way
so.
to play some fun games with my friends. We were playing through Undertale together at the same time, and so I thought, oh, if I stream it, then my friends can like see where I am and where my progress is. So that's kind of where I got started, is it was just a way for me to kind of connect with my online friends, even just some of my school friends at the time. And I guess just over the course of time, as I started to build a community and realize, oh, I can meet more friends who go beyond just my immediate circle, that's when things kind of changed for me. And I realized, oh, wow, I love community building and I love creating a space where, I'm Steph of anime and I love anime. And I thought, growing through school, sometimes I would get bullied for talking about the things I like, games and anime. And I can create a safe space where people can make friends, especially if they don't have that in their immediate vicinity. So as I started to kind of build a community, I realized, oh, this is something really important to me, and this is something that I want in my life. And so, as I was going through university is when I started to just kind of keep streaming more consistently. And so, it just sort of became a thing. And then I started full-time streaming, and I realized as I was streaming that there are some, things when you're having your own business, essentially, that I found very difficult. And, depending on where you live, the finances are difficult to manage. So I realized, okay, I think what's more sustainable for me is to get a full-time job and then figure out how I want to run this streaming business of mine. So to answer, I guess, the priorities when it comes to balancing full-time employment and content creation, the biggest thing for me is sense of fulfillment. And so, how happy am I with the schedule that I'm keeping, and not just going with based off what do you hear from Twitter and YouTube on how to be the best streamer, but what makes me happy? So that's the biggest priority. And I think my biggest challenge is not succumbing to what the expectations of a full-time streamer is, and instead, again, just kind of what works best for me personally, and not thinking about, oh, I don't stream, 20 hours a week, live on air, and I instead do 4-hour streams when I can.
I will say that it is easier to put yourself in the mental model of trying to fit someone else's expectations than to really ask yourself, what are your own expectations for yourself? And I think you'll find those stories a lot from our panelists as we continue down the table.
Yeah, so I got my first start, I think my first YouTube video was uploaded in 2011. It was horrible.
That's a long time ago.
And then after about 5 years, I realized two things. I don't want to say it. I absolutely hate editing videos, and I suck ass at League of Legends. And I was like, I don't think this is working. And played around with other games, did some other things, and then ended up in a situation where I could afford a machine that could just, instead of recording, I could actually go live. And it was, I want to say it was probably like 2016, 2017 maybe. And I was playing one game at the time. I would only play the one game. And I thought a couple people would show up, and a lot more than a couple did, and they never left. So I just kept going. And when it came to priorities, I knew I never wanted to be a full-time content creator. I'm somebody who's very lucky where in my career, I'm really happy with it. I will, like getting Microsoft to say ooh is something that is like, I get to just take that forever. And like nobody can take that away from me. And it's great. I enjoy that aspect of my life. And so when I wanted to start creating content, I still didn't want to half-ass it. I wanted to make sure that if people were going to take their time to come to my broadcast, that it would be worth it. So when it came to balancing, the first thing was sleep. Cut away. And really it solidified for me when balancing started taking time away from my wife. Mm-hmm. And she's actually pretty cool. So I didn't really like that idea, and it was a lot of communication, and it was a lot of like really understanding how much time is fair for me to dedicate to this. Even though this is something I love doing, it's something I'm really involved in, it's a space that I want to grow in, even if it never takes over and becomes a career, I still want to take it seriously. And so really that communication and that trust. And that goes into the biggest challenges are sure, I'm getting a good stream tonight. I can go for an hour later, but I have an 8 a.m. meeting, and I need to be present, and I have to talk at that meeting. Do I risk missing out on these couple follows, these couple subs, maybe a few more eyes on my channel, or do I do the responsible thing and end the stream? And I wish I had that answer for you, but it's an ongoing conversation every single time I stream.
So for me, I guess technically I got started as a content creator back in 2011, 2012-ish. I was a member of a competitive Pokemon team, and we would record our matches and our scrims and upload them to YouTube so people who were interested in watching could watch. There was no commentary or anything. I think I just picked probably copyrighted music back then and just put that on as the background music and thought I was cool and whatever. But I actually started streaming in 2015 after I had huge burnout from competing. I got to the point where I just didn't like playing Pokemon, which was absolutely absurd to me to think about. And I was like, well, maybe if I stream to my friends, I can fall in love with this game again. I can learn how to be a better competitor. And that kind of just snowballed into this thing where all of a sudden I was asked to commentate grassroots tournaments, and then I was asked to commentate official tournaments, and I kind of just grew into where I am today. So it was like a very natural progression in that regard. But at the same time, every time I sort of leveled up, I felt like I had to also level up my content creation game. So it took me a while to figure out where my priorities were, because I was like, well, I'm being given all these amazing opportunities. I feel like I need to have the resume on the content side to back it up. So I would like grind really hard for partner. I would try and just like stream as much as I can, despite the fact that I also had 8 a.m. meetings and I was on call and I got paged and I had to like do all this stuff, and it was just really chaotic. So for me, that was also the biggest challenge at first, and still is today, is like finding that balance, because I have zero aspirations of doing full-time content. I think that I'm very lucky to have the opportunities that I have, and I love doing what I do. But at the same time, I want to keep that balance, and I don't want to say, I want to switch from my steady income and, the security and stability that provides and go to the content creation world, because that's just not something that I want to worry about. That's not an anxiety that I want to carry with me. So it's a growing process. I think a lot of days I still feel like I'm not doing enough, because I think that a lot of being a content creator is the grind, so to speak. But it's something that I work on, and hopefully I get better at it eventually.
You got this.
Thanks.
You inspire me. You know that, but you already know that.
No, you. It's not a new woo, but it sounds close.
Ash.
Oh my God, I've been streaming since 2016, December. I had a rough start, but my mom said, hey, go buy a computer and start streaming. And I did exactly that. I got a Best Buy credit card, okay. I got an iBuy Power PC, and I streamed the next day. First game I streamed was Friday the 13th beta. My first PC game, so that was scary. I'm not a horror streamer, but I like horror games. But that was an experience for sure. And going into the new year of 2017, I found Tiltify. Tiltify's my life. That's why I work there. But I found Tiltify for St. Jude Play Live season of 2017. I raised a couple $100, and I felt really inspired to do more and impact people with my stream. So really giving back to others is my whole content, honestly, and supporting others. And I want to cry because, honestly, Tiltify has changed my life. Honestly, I love you. I love you, Leah. My mom has always taught me to give back when I can and support others, especially with the rough start we had before I started streaming. So that's a big part of my content, always fundraising, picking different causes, having fun, and playing games. So primarily I play games. I'm diving into podcasting and doing other forms of content this rest of the year. So that's coming this month. But throughout my years of streaming, I've been fundraising, playing different games, building a community built on positivity, love, happiness, and full-time work at the same time.
I remember when you transitioned into having a full-time job in the gaming industry, supporting creators.
Yeah.
And that is a story that you'll find a lot from people in the space, and it's one of the many different like branches that creators can take. And it has its pros and cons, and you get to hear a lot about that in the upcoming slides. I just want to let people know about that.
Yes. I've been working, let's see, when I first started streaming, I was working in tech. So I was working at a school district. I was doing computer tech work at different schools. That was really fun. So I know you're in the tech field still, so I can relate to you. And then I went to school for medical assisting in 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
It was a really wonderful experience. I worked in pediatrics, so that was fun. I love kids, so that was a really good chapter in my life. But then Tiltify said, hey, you do all this cool stuff with fundraising. Why not hire you? I said, sure. So I've been at Tiltify for the last year and a half doing community management work, and I have some priorities, all right. Balancing streaming and working at home. This is my first remote job, so it's been pretty difficult, to be honest. Trying to find my mental health, like when to prioritize that, when to step away from my desk, you know? So I work on my same computer setup. I game, stream, all of the above in that one setup. So that's been pretty difficult. So I've been telling myself, get up, go to Starbucks, do some work at Starbucks, you know, just get out of the house, get out of my room space. So that's why I've been trying to prioritize and getting sleep. I'm a nighttime streamer, so you already know how that is. Working in a day, and then I'll take a couple hours to myself, and I'll stream from 9 p.m., yes, 9 p.m., to maybe 1 or 2 a.m., but it's a good sacrifice. As long as I have 5 hours of sleep, I can function. Sometimes I'll sleep in.
You know, I have a phrase that I use about that, but I'll save it till later. Next up, Gabby.
Yep.
All right. So I started streaming in roughly about 2016, and I was playing Counter-Strike competitively. And I realized, you know, I just wasn't going to get to that major level that a lot of some of these other players were at. At the time, PUBG had just came out and just released as beta. So I started streaming and playing that on PC, and then shortly afterwards, I found a game called Escape from Tarkov on PC, which was just this game that, you know, you'd never seen anything like it, you'd never played anything like it, and at the time the community was very small, and over the next few years the game started getting popularity. I started noticing like the viewer count was going up, the sub count was going up, and then I was sitting there at night like, oh, I can, you know, I've been paying my phone bill doing this, and now I can start paying rent doing this, and it just kept continuing over and over. And in January 2021, Tarkov did like a drops event, and when you do those types of events, when you do those types of events, you try to get all like as much as you can. And I remembered I did like a full 24-hour stream with 90,000 people in my chat, and it was the most exhausting thing I've ever done in my life.
You rode the wave.
Yeah,
And it was a big wave.
Yeah, like there was no keeping up with anything. I must have pounded like 7 Red Bulls that day just to get through it. Yeah. So from those types of experiences, you know, I've been able to continue creating content day in and day out. I'll usually spend about anywhere between 8 hours streaming, and then on top of that, another 3, 4, 5 hours, you know, clipping down things, editing YouTube videos, trying to size things for like TikTok, YouTube, just trying to make the visibility of all the content that I make from a live stream and setting that up for all the other platforms to try and drive people into the Twitch channel, getting them engaged, getting more people following and things like that. Some of the priorities that I have for full time is just making sure that I give myself enough time to actually go and enjoy life. The grind is so powerful and so addicting to a lot of people.
It's seductive.
Yeah, you'll look at the metrics, you'll look at the analytics, and you're like, all right, I can keep going, I can do better. And sometimes you really have to check yourself and say, hey, I need to go outside, I need to go to the gym, I need to spend 3 hours a day, you know, like adulting. doing laundry, walking the dogs, all that kind of stuff. So you really have to find ways, like creative ways to like balance time and fit it into a schedule that's appropriate for you. So that's probably one of the biggest challenges that I've been facing as like a full-time content creator. And like Miss Ash said as well, like you really have to tap into your mental health sometimes, because, you know, when you get wrapped up in those numbers, it's easy to personalize those and make that like about you, when, you know, it could just be a Twitch trend. People move on to a different directory, people are moving all around, so like.
There's also the principle of diminishing returns.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So even sometimes, sometimes you have to ask yourself, is the game I'm playing still like viable for me? Do I need to change directories? Do I need to try a different piece of content, so on and so forth? So yeah.
It's all about trade-offs, and sometimes you really need to make those evaluations for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I think mental health is definitely one of the biggest things that a lot of people do need to continue to talk about, especially people that move into like the full-time content creation and whatnot, because, you know, you're sitting in a room for 10, 12 hours a day, like talking to a screen, but you're not really getting any actual human interaction. So got to pay attention to that kind of stuff.
And that's a great transition into our next topic about managing both worlds. And I have 2 questions for our panelists. The first question being, what is your biggest tool or toolkit or framework for balancing content creation and other responsibilities? So very broadly put, other responsibilities, whether it's a full-time job, whether it's making time for yourself, your hobbies, your relationships. And going off of that, how do you set realistic expectations for yourself? And I am going to hand this one to Steph.
Hello. So for me, having a perception shift was the biggest life changer for me, going from while I was in university and then, leaving university, I did a few years of full-time content creation, then going to having a full-time job. It's very different. I no longer can do 8 to 10 hour streams, and I can't do this constant grind that we've been talking about to keep creating content and distributing content on all these platforms. So the biggest thing that helped me was changing my approach from this grind mindset to like a project-based approach. So even though, sure, on a general sense, you get in, you get out what you put in, and you can keep creating content, I instead said, I'm going to every month have XYZ goals, or maybe it's one goal per month. So for example, like around like Women's History Month, I do something with The Last Project, which is an initiative I created to help uplift women in the Pokemon community. And that is something that every year is important to me that I do. And so it's not necessarily an everyday type schedule, but every month I try to have something that is meaningful to me in my content world. And that's very different from a lot of the advice you might hear. And from what I heard, being a content creator, you always hear, do as much as you can. But as soon as I decided, okay, I'm going to set 1 or 2 monthly goals, and however long.
Are those SMART goals?
Yeah, well, I hope so. I guess even if they're not smart, if they make me happy, that is just as valid, and you are still a valid content creator for having a different type of schedule and different types of projects than someone, and if someone is doing 10 to 12-hour streams, I think both are really valid approaches. So that was the biggest tool that completely changed, my life, and I can feel a lot more content balancing, because, if you're working 40 hours a week, you can't do 8-hour streams every day. It's not possible, but you can still be a content creator and still manage both.
You don't have a time turner for life, just saying. They don't exist. They don't exist in our world.
Yeah, so the biggest thing that I used was when I started doing this, I always promised myself I'd be honest with myself. And a lot of that honesty is understanding that some things are some things are within reach, some things are not. Some you'll work toward, some you hope for, some you dream of, and keeping those things honest. Because so much of this world, I think somebody mentioned this earlier, where you live matters, right? Making $1,500 a month in maybe a smaller, less expensive part of the country or place in the world is way different than, say, here in Seattle, where your rent could be $2,000 a month for your room or your apartment. So it was really being honest with what exactly you want to get out of this. And I think when you're able to kind of understand a realistic goal, then you can kind of start understanding when something doesn't go well, maybe there aren't a ton of viewers there. It's not your fault, and there's not a whole lot you could do to change it. Another thing is doing everything I could in downtime at work to think about content. What could I tweet out right now? What kind of things could I do? Did something work at my real job? How can I use this for my live stream? It is understanding that if you are working a full-time job and broadcasting is something that you're doing on the side, or content creation rather, is utilizing those downtimes for inspiration, understanding things at work. Did you have something cute that happened at work and you could form this into a story? Can this become something that is unique to a game that you're playing? It's realizing that creating content is so much more and takes so much more than just being in front of the camera, especially if it's just a game. So I think it was really interesting to have an experience where my job gave me a different perspective that I could give to my viewers than, vice versa. And as for setting realistic expectations, it does come with, in my situation, is having a very open communication with the people in my life that have expectations of me, understanding when I can be at things, when I can't be at things. And it is difficult. When I set a schedule, I did Sundays and Mondays. I wanted my weekends. I wanted my midweek for work. And so it was like saying, hey, I'm taking this seriously. Sorry, I can't get dinner on Monday. No, I can't get dinner on Monday. No, really, I cannot get dinner on Monday. And that is a conversation that you have to have with the people in your life, because there's people that want to spend time with you, whether you know it or not. There are people that want to spend time with you, and they don't want to be in your chat. They want to spend time with you. But at the same time, if you are going to commit to this, that schedule ends up becoming super important, and it does become like a job. So it's honest communication and really, truly being honest with yourself.
So I'm going to start with the expectations, because I think that's honestly where I set myself up for failure at first. So to give everybody some context, when I started taking things seriously, I was working a full-time job, but I would come home. I was in a long-distance relationship, and my then boyfriend, now fiance, would go to bed around 6 o'clock Seattle time. So I basically had the evenings to do whatever I wanted. So I'd be like, well, I don't really want to go out and hang out with people because I'm not that kind of person. I'll just start streaming. And it just became this expectation at that point in my life where it's like, okay, I have no plans. I'll just go live. I'll hang out with people online. I'll get some practice in for the commentary stuff that I'm doing. And honestly, I had a light bulb moment, because I basically tried to keep up that schedule or that cadence for as long as I possibly could. And that included during the pandemic, which was a mistake. I'm not going to lie. When you have nothing else to do and you just decide to stream all the time, you burn out very quickly, it turns out. And then also I tried to keep that schedule when I moved in with my fiance finally. I switched time zones, I switched job expectations, and it was hard for me to realize that a previously realistic expectation was no longer realistic. And learning how to reevaluate that sort of led me to the biggest tool that I have, which is the spoons metaphor. So I don't know if y'all have heard it before, but it's this idea that you can only hold so many spoons, and you can give a couple of spoons to maybe your job, or a couple of spoons to your relationships, your friendships, whatever it is. But once you're out of spoons, you are out. You need to take care of yourselves so you can get those spoons back and then invest in another day. And as soon as I started thinking about content creation and my job and my expectations for commentary with that metaphor, it allowed me to realize, okay, I'm really not setting realistic expectations for myself. I'm getting disappointed because I fail to hit all the goals I'm trying to define for myself because they're not realistic. There's clearly a problem here that I need to address. So I think that learning how to have honest conversations with yourself, and however that works, for me it was that metaphor, for you it was something different, was really the most important part.
Honestly, I think my biggest tool is my mother, because sometimes you get so lost in content creation, you don't notice what you're doing, Yeah. And my mom's like, you don't spend time with me. You don't have to stream today. Take a break. I'm like, but I have to stream, but I have to hit this goal. No, the last couple months, I'm like, no, I'm setting a schedule. I'm not gonna just stream because I got a raid, because every time I get a raid, it's at the end of my stream. I'm like, well, I gotta stream for another hour. Another raid comes in, 2 more hours. No, you just cut it off. So I know I said maybe 9 to 1, 2 a.m., but usually I'm like, midnight, I'm getting off. So my mom had to really just sit me down and be like, you need to take care of yourself. You need to set expectations for yourself realistically and manage both of your worlds.
Someone else on this panel needs that advice.
Oh. Who is it? But yeah, my mom, she's my biggest cheerleader. We take care of one another, you know. So I really just have to think about setting a schedule. All this time, y'all, I streamed for 5 years with no schedule. Believe it or not. I'm like, catch me live at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Since I always worked full time, it was easy to manage. Woo!
That other panel seems really hype.
Yeah.
I'm happy for them, whatever is going on there.
I want to root for somebody too. Woo!
Let's go!
I definitely.
Now
But
return
yeah.
to our regularly scheduled programming. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, we can definitely be louder than them. Let's be real.
We can't. If you give me a second to ready up,
Right,
you know?
yeah.
So this year, again, the last few months, I set a schedule. I've been, again, getting out of the house, especially doing remote work. And, well, you're in the same space, you know? Streaming full time. It gets to you.
Absolutely.
Staring at that screen for a very long time.
Yeah.
You have to step back because you will burn out. And that's what happened with me a couple months ago. I said, I can't do this anymore. I had to set that schedule. I had to take care of myself better, even get therapy, because let's talk about it. Therapy is so important. If you could seek that out, take care of yourself, please.
Self-care is important,
Yes.
remember.
Absolutely.
Self-care is, you have to do it. You have to.
The most important investment that you can make is in yourself. And if you're not taking care of yourself, we got problems. It's a big problem.
Yeah. And sometimes you need somebody to tell you. Because, again, I didn't know that I was just spending all my time gaming and playing games and streaming and not spending time with my mom. She's like, I miss you. I'm like, I miss you too. You're right. I've been no-lifing Valorant for the last 3 months. So, yeah, I really think if you are struggling and you don't know where you're at, try to talk to somebody. Like, do you notice a pattern change in me, or what should be doing? Reaching out to a family member you may live with or a friend you game with. They can see things that you will never see. Absolutely. So take care of yourself. Try to balance your screen time. That's so important. And set a schedule. I know I've been really successful in not having a schedule, but now it came to burnout, and I don't want to get at that point again. I didn't stream for 2 weeks, and that's long for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's long for me. I stream 4 times a week. So that 2-week break, I really just sat down and took the time to figure out what would be best for me and my mental health. And I want you all to prioritize your mental health, please.
Right.
Pretty please.
Right.
And eat. Eat.
And hydrate.
Okay?
And hydrate.
And hydrate.
Yes.
Set a chat timer.
There's a bot for that. It's the Stay Hydrated bot. It's wonderful.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Over to Dottie Hack.
So one of the biggest tools that I've kind of learned, and this was something that took a little bit of time for me to figure out in my content creation career, was that I was just spending way too much time in a specific given week, where I'd get on the computer at noon, I'd try to post things until 1 or 2 o'clock, like get my social interaction in. Then I'd stream from about 2 p.m. to 10 o'clock at night or midnight. And then I'd be up till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning trying to, pull VODs and clips and stuff. And I found that just wasn't working. I wasn't able to sleep very well. I'd end up watching Stranger Things all night. So I couldn't continue to make it work. And one of the biggest tools I started implementing was kind of like what Ash was saying, is taking a self-care day where I'm just not going to do any of that stuff, and then just go outside, go call a friend, go do an activity that's something that gets me out of the house, gets me walking around, and then I'll set another specific day to just dedicate time to clipping content for YouTube, TikTok, etc. So I'll jump on and spend that entire day just scrubbing through Twitch VODs, grabbing clips and all that kind of stuff. And that was something that really allowed me to have more time throughout the week so that I could, make dinner, go see a friend, and do all the other things that you want to do in life because that grind will eventually consume you, and that's all that becomes. And some people are okay with that. Some people can literally stream, 90, 100, and 120 hours a week, and that's fine, but that's not for everybody. And everybody has different expectations and different values that they get out of life. So being able to step away from that, check your mental health, take care of yourself is probably one of the biggest tools that you can have at your disposal. So that way you don't experience burnout, you don't resent the game that you play, you don't just get continuously frustrated and lash out, because after playing, Escape from Tarkov for 12,000 hours, there's only so many times I can get head eyes before I literally just want to punch my monitor. So, keeping that self in check is one of the biggest things that you can do in order to create the best environment that not only you're going to enjoy, but the people that consume your content are also going to enjoy.
And we have some simpler questions. These were a little bit intense, and now we are going back to some simpler questions about managing both worlds. Do you still have a social life outside of work and stream? How do you manage it? How do you avoid burnout? And how many hours of sleep do you get every night? I feel like some people are going to be called out here, and it's going to be fantastic. Over to Steph.
I will answer the first 3 questions. So I do have a social life outside of work and stream, but I will admit I've had to create this different type of schedule than what I'm used to. So instead of having a weekly schedule where every week I do the same things, what I've done is I've actually blocked out. Let's say I don't stream on Mondays and Tuesdays, and so if I work 9 to 5, and then Monday and Tuesdays are my off days, that gives me between, say, 6 and 10 p.m. to have a free block. Now, I rotate that out, so maybe the first week of every month, I do my D&D session on one of those off days, so that's my social time, that's going out with a friend. And then that following Monday, maybe I won't do D&D, and I'll do something else. So I have these blocks of time that's not my stream time, and the same will go with on days I do stream. I work 9 to 5, and then I stream from about 9 p.m. to about 1 a.m. or so. And so in between that time, if I have a bit of that dinner time, well, I guess it depends on if I'm eating with friends or not, and if I try to optimize and have a social experience while having some food. But I try to find those blocks of time and then adjust based off of the week or the month. So that I found has worked better for me and is the way that I'm able to have a social life. I can't really keep a very consistent schedule just because it's just not possible. And if I'm here at PAX West, then that has also shifted my schedule. And so instead of, scheduling is super important. We've talked about it before in order to have some sort of balance, but you can get a bit creative with it. And so having a bit of a modular schedule in that way has helped me. In terms of avoiding burnout, I think it is being honest with yourself, like you were saying before, when you're starting to feel that you are overwhelmed. I think sometimes you do have to accept that when you are a content creator, you are choosing the level that you put in, and it's okay to have some months where you pull a bit back. And there are times you can grind, and then there are times you can pull back. If there's a new game launch and this is an opportunity to grow, go for that grind and try it for, say, that month. But then you don't have to continue it past that month. That doesn't have to be this long-term commitment. It can be a weekly experiment. And that has been helpful to me is say, I love Pokemon. So when November comes, I know that, am I going to have a social life in November, December? Probably not. I'm going to be playing lots of Pokemon, creating lots of content. But then when January rolls around, then let's replace some of that time with, friends, family, remind people that I exist. Yeah. That's my answer. As for sleep, I don't give good advice on this one.
Steph is in my Twitch chat sometimes, and I'm on the West Coast, she's on the East Coast, and it's after 9 p.m., and when Steph says, "Hey, big fan, hey," I'm like, "Steph, get some pipe and sleep." This isn't all ages panel, so I can't actually say what I wanted to say.
Can I eat sleep? Is that something that I can do?
No.
Is sleep an instrument?
Yeah.
All right, January.
Yeah, so I do actually. I'm a bit of a barfly. I love beer, and in fact, there is a fellow that I drink a lot with. I have no clue what his name is. Every single plan we've ever made has fallen through. I don't have his number, don't think to ask, but God, I cannot wait to drink a pint with that man again. Like, oh, it's just magical. And neither of us care because, you know, it's not, hey, you didn't show up yesterday. It was, yeah, did we have plans? I don't know, but this beer's on me. Like, and it's great. And I do highly recommend finding these fun, interesting people to talk to that don't give two hells about your content. That it's not about content, that it's not about computers, it's not about anything, or it's not about anything that you do. Like, find people who are just interested in who you are, because you matter, by the way. And how do I maintain that? Doctors would say I'm an alcoholic, but I disagree. By avoiding burnout, I think it is realizing that in content creation, effort in does not mean money out. And it's a realization that there are times where it's okay to step back, do a little less, do the minimum, show up, and if that's enough for some people, that's great. Obviously, that's a very privileged statement because I'm not worried about this income. It's nice, it's beer money, but that would be my way to avoid it. And how many hours I get of sleep a night? 5 on Sundays, 4 on Mondays, and I try and get at least 6 the rest of the week.
That's actually pretty good. Yeah.
Pretty proud.
Yeah, you should be.
Good
you should
work.
be proud. So I have a bit of an interesting social life because I like to call myself an extroverted introvert. So there will be situations where I will just be like, I want to be the life of the party, you know, I want to hang out with my friends, and then it'll be like, oh, just kidding, I'm going to go home, put on Netflix, and fall asleep on the couch. So I found that for me, maintaining my social life honestly ends up being around a lot of the events that I end up working at or attending, like PAX West or maybe a Pokemon event or something. And like for those 3 or 4 days, I will see my friends, I will hang out, we'll catch up, we'll have drinks, we'll get food, you know, whatever it is. And then I go home and then I lay on the couch and watch reruns of reality TV shows until my brain is finally recovered from the experience. So it's not really a maintenance kind of thing in that regard, I guess. I kind of just fall into these patterns and it works for me and I maintain it by just keep doing it, I guess. But if I'm in a situation where I'm not really seeing people in person, you know, my social life really is just like, you know, I'll see a couple of close friends. We'll maybe do like Discord calls or something. But other than that, I kind of enjoy having like my off time, if you will. As for avoiding burnout, I've learned that I am the kind of person who, no matter how hard I try, I just always miss the signals that I'm heading towards burnout. This even goes back to when I was in college, to be honest. So it's something that I'm constantly working on. I know that if I get to the point where something exciting's happening in my content and I don't want to stream, that's usually like the big blinking light. And sometimes I'll notice it and sometimes I won't.
Check engine.
Yeah, check engine. It's more serious than that, like fatal engine error maybe. So I'm working on it. I'm working on it. But once I do notice those signals, I try to just hold myself accountable, take a mental health day, you know, just sort of do a checkup. That was weird. As for sleep, when I'm working events, I'm lucky if I get 4 to 5. But normally I actually try to do 8 to 9. But I also have learned that I really don't function well without sleep for a long period of time. So when I'm going on like day 4 or 5 of like 4 to 5 hours of sleep, like it's just really bad. So I try to avoid that at all costs.
I'll say one thing. I learned about this. I will learn about this 90-Day Fiancé show from Gabby.
You had to out me like that. It's a good show.
I'm going to keep it short because I know we're running on time. So, you know, sleep. Let's start with that. I would say 5 to 6 hours. So that's really good, you know, because Well, the last 2 weeks has been interesting. Yeah, maybe less. But anyway, I aim for 5 to 6 hours for sure. And for my social life outside of work and stream, I am very lucky because I found other creator friends that are local to me that I get to connect with and have we can relate on so many other things in the industry and talk about that and vent to one another. So I make a weekly date with my friend to go to Mimosa House. And we drink mimosas.
I love that. That's
So
awesome.
nice.
Yes. And I always make it a goal to get out of the house at least twice a week. I'm like, Mom, get in a car. We're going to Old Navy. We're going to go buy some clothes.
We're going shopping.
Yes, I love shopping. I get to treat myself. I mean, who doesn't want to treat themselves? So yeah, I want to get out of the house at least twice a week. I always meet up with my friends every week on Sunday because that's my chill day. I think Sunday is everyone's chill day. I think for you. No, it's not, because you get 5 hours, right, on Sunday? Yep. But yeah, I think it's really important to just find local friends. There's always somebody close by, I promise.
Or
That's in the
internet friends,
industry.
like I was going to say, Gabby and Steph and I have a Palace of the Dead group in the critically acclaimed MMO.
Yeah.
I'm proud of myself for only mentioning it once this panel. I love Final Fantasy.
And take advantage of Twitch meetups that are near you and conventions like this. I met so many people this weekend, and you get to connect, take numbers, and I'm pretty sure somebody's near you, so you can go to Mimosa House with them, get some mimosas. Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
And avoiding burnout, literally relate to you, because if I'm looking at OBS and I'm struggling to hit go live, I know that I'm burnt out and I need to take a break. When I'm about to tweet, I'm like, ooh, I don't like that, or maybe it's not a good tweet. Let me just step away from Twitter for a minute.
Right, and that's the hardest part, yeah.
Absolutely, and when you're not excited about something, yeah, I'm like, let me step away. I can't do this right now. So take care of yourself and try to see those signs. It's really hard, but I've been streaming for a long time, so now that I found the signs this year, very lucky to take advantage of that and just know when to take a break and step back.
Nice, right on. So like I alluded to earlier, I'm originally from Maryland, and I moved out here about 3 years ago. At the time, I had just left my job, and I decided to try full-time streaming, and it was starting to work. 6 months later, the pandemic happened. So not only was I 3,000 miles away from home and all my family members and friends, now I can't go out and see anybody and talk to anybody. And that was really devastating on trying to maintain a social life outside the world of Twitch. So one of the things that became important was to, involve more people in like broadcasts and whatnot, creating more friendships of the people that are like in chat and become more engaging. So that way, you're not able to have that physical social interaction, but you can still have that digital interaction. Like, we all love playing games, and we all just have an amazing time having fun. So that ended up becoming my social life. And a lot of the friends that I have also work and have full-time jobs. So I can't hit up my buddy on a Thursday and be like, hey, do you want to go hang out? Like, I'm done streaming. Like, we can go chill. He's like, nah, man, I got to get up at 5:30. I got to go to work. Like, I can't do that. So that became kind of a bit of a challenge. Because not only not having met a lot of people out here, but their differences in schedules and whatnot just couldn't align with that. So like a couple of you guys have alluded to, like going to these social events like PAX West, I met Kenley through the Soba meetup, so going to those things are great ways to utilize those types of events where you can meet people that have common interests, that you can build relationships with other people, and then you can start creating more content together and just getting down to that, like having fun, because that's why we all play games to begin with, is just to have fun. Things that I do to try and avoid burnout, like I said earlier, I really like to try and get out of the house, whether that's going to a metal concert, whether that's going to PAX West, whether that's just going for a hike or something, just anything I can do to get away from the screens and just staring into like the digital space for hours and hours and hours on end, because life is pretty short and it's just going to pass you by. So if you just sit inside and just play games all day, you're going to miss some of the real experiences that are out there in life. And as far as how many hours of sleep I get every night, yes.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna skip the next set of slides and just open it up with a Q&A.
Hello.
Hello.
So you guys talked a lot about.
Q&A.
I don't think the mic's on.
Hello. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Hold on. Okay.
Oh, he's running. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. Check, check.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Magic.
You're a rock star.
You guys talked a lot about, taking care of your mental health, taking those days off. Have any of you guys ever dealt specifically with negative self-talk, especially pertaining to like, oh, this person, I had a feeling, and my Tarkov guys, I know you like live in self-hate most of the time, that's why you still play. Like
Tarkov is pain, yeah.
I guess around, seeing friends that are hitting awesome numbers and doing great and going, why am I not hitting that? What's wrong with me? Like, how have you guys overcome that? What has been the most successful in doing that?
Therapy. No, I'm serious. I'm actually serious.
She's not wrong.
So I had to spend 3 sessions when I first started going to a therapist explaining what Twitch was conceptually, because lovely, lovely lady, she just got my mental issues, except for the fact that they all took place on some weird website that you stream video to people, which could be taken the wrong way, but no, I joke about it, but I think for me the biggest help was realizing that just because somebody else can give their 100% and they're dedicating their 100% to content creation doesn't mean that what I'm doing is less meaningful. I think that it's very easy to define success in numbers because that's exactly what the system and the algorithms use to define success. But as long as you feel like you're doing something meaningful and that you're seeing progress or you're seeing what you want to see come out of it, just reminding yourself that it's okay. And some days I have trouble with that, and some days I don't. Therapy's great, and I see the time thing, so I'll shut up.
Hello. Hi, Ganesh. Love you. So my name is Sierra. My question is, I'm a rising Valorant commentator and soon-to-be content creator, and I have all my overlays set up, have the channel set up, but I haven't hit that first go live because I'm moving in a few weeks and waiting till that. And I guess my question is, when you first started streaming and have to climb that steep climb into a viewership of any kind, how do you stay motivated when you see 0 or 1 person in chat, knowing that you're just talking to yourself and just playing your game?
I feel like I can speak to that because I am one of those 1 or 2 person viewer streamers, and I really personally make sure that I play the games I like, that the games excite me, that I have the principle of whoever's in the room enjoying it with me is my friend, even if it is a 0. I'm still enjoying the game, and that's basically all I need. That's what I tell myself and what I believe in. And sometimes the days where I do have friends in chat are the best days. She's in my chat sometimes, and those are my best stream days.
Honestly, if you have someone you can call up and say, hey, I'm about to do my first stream, can you just hang out and chat? When I first started, that's what I did, is I just I texted, friends, family, and say, just for an hour at first. You don't have to start with a 5-hour stream, but just for even 30 minutes, an hour, just so I can kind of practice what it's like talking. And then you can kind of just pretend it's a let's play the other half of the time and just focus. What are things that are on the screen that I can just go on and talk about? So that helped me a lot.
Also, commentate every single thing you're doing. Just keep yourself busy. That's what I do. We all have slow chats, by the way. I think we have all seen a decline before, right? Yeah. And yeah, if I'm playing Valorant, I literally commentate everything. This dude's peeking me. This dude's in heaven. This dude,
Yeah.
As you know.
And
so just have fun and make sure you have somebody with you playing a game. If I'm having a slow night, I'll message a friend. I'm like, hey, can you come play with me? It's a slower night. And then sometimes they can create conversation with you, and then I'll bring more people in chat.
Yeah, and I think also one of the biggest things to try and do, and this is very difficult, is to try and remove expectation from when you do that stream. And like Ash and Gabby said, getting a friend is perfect. But oftentimes where I find myself getting frustrated the most is when I'm expecting something out of a stream or a broadcast or whatever. So learning how to remove that expectation can help puts you in the right mindset to just do it and just have fun, and then next thing you know, it's over, and then it just starts snowballing for you. Yeah.
Just one thing. When commentating, when saying things, one of the things you want to avoid is don't ask a question hoping to get an answer when you know no one is there. That is going to reinforce and remind you that you're alone and scared and sad. So consider the language you're using, really understand, it's okay to ask a question, but do it as a statement so that if nobody's there to respond, it's okay. Also, that way, if that content is re-uploaded, it can be then, translated into a comment or something. But with the commentary, don't remind yourself you're alone with your language.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you for being here. Really appreciate the panel. So something that I struggle with a lot doing content is feeling this sense of imposter syndrome, no matter how large of an audience you have. I also really want to network a lot better in this space, but I worry about the biggest thing I struggle with is networking when people have a larger audience than you, and worrying about what are they going to think? Are they going to feel like I'm using them? And I never want anyone to feel like that. How do you navigate that as a content creator and kind of get over that, I guess?
So just try to make genuine connections with people. I totally understand that feeling, because I also try not to make it seem like I'm networking with someone for a purpose. But if they're playing a game I enjoy and I'm genuinely having fun watching their content, I'll just be like, hey, I was watching your stream, or I'll jump in chat and be like, this is so great, or just start those conversations. And as long as it starts from a genuine place, I think that it won't be taken that way. If you slide into someone's DMs and you just are like, hey, I see you're a streamer, blah, 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 streamer, blah, 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 collab or whatever, it's pretty obvious what you're there for. As for the imposter syndrome, just, same thing that I was saying earlier, just remind yourself that it's okay to create something for the sake of creating it. As long as you're happy with what you're doing, even though it doesn't feel like it's enough, it honestly is enough. And just getting that mantra into your head to combat the other voice that's telling you it's not true is really the first step to dealing with it.
And one piece of advice that I think will go far is that your community, your chosen family, they're there for you. You don't those voices voices of self-doubt. You every time you have that moment, you need if you have a friend, have them check yourself, because I think I say that a lot too, being one of those one or two fewer people.
Yeah, and I think another thing that's also really important to emphasize is that to value the other person, the other people that you're interacting with. At the end of the day, we're all humans, we're all the same. There's really not much discrepancy between, or the difference between somebody that has 50,000 viewers on a normal basis and someone that has 2, and all those people that were there at one point in time. So it's really important to just remember that trying to create an actual authentic relationship with that person bodes so much more success than trying to be in someone's DMs and be like, hey, I want to play with you, and with the anticipation that you might benefit from that. So that's also very important.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Yeah,
You're welcome. Thank you for asking a question.
Oh, wait, we're time. Never mind. Sorry.
It looks like we are at time, but some of us will be around, so you can still ask us
We'll take your question offline. We really will.
Okay.
Stick around. We will.
Thanks to everyone who came by.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.